landscape of intellectual property rights, especially in the era of artificial intelligence. That's right. As we start with the World Intellectual Property Day, let us remember that IPR is not just about patents and trademarks. It is about protecting the very essence of human creativity and innovation. It's a bridge between the mind and the heart, the tool that empowers inventors, artists, writers, and entrepreneurs. Today, we delve into the intersection of AI and IPR, aiming to understand and navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. With that, we now begin with today's session with an auspicious start. May we request our esteemed guests to kindly come forward for the lighting of the ceremonial lamp, a symbol of wisdom, knowledge, and enlightenment. We are honored to welcome Mr. Azad, a distinguished former IPS officer and national security expert to our event. With nearly 4 decades of service, Mr. Azad has had key roles including Special Director of the Intelligence Bureau and Secretary to the Government of India. He played a vital role in shaping internal security policies and protecting high-risk dignitaries, including coordinating the National Crisis Management Unit. His expertise spanned counter-terrorism and international security, with notable assignments in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Mr. Azad is the recipient of the Police Medal for his meritorious service and the President's Medal for distinguished service. We are privileged to have with us today, sir. Look forward for your valuable insights. I would like to call upon Mr. Ravindra Singh to felicitate Mr. Azad.
Thank you, sir.
Please stay. We are more than yes. It is with great pleasure that we welcome Mr. Ravindra Kumar, a distinguished legal professional with over 23 years of experience in international dispute resolution. Mr. Kumar is dual qualified as an advocate in India and a solicitor in England and Wales. He has represented multinational corporations, high-net-worth individuals, and government bodies in complex cross-border disputes and arbitration. Notable highlights of his career include representing the Government of India before the High Court of London, an alumnus of the University of Delhi and UK's College of Law. Mr. Kumar now serves as a partner at Government LLP, London. Sir, we are delighted to have you with us today.
Sir.
With a great honor and enthusiasm, we welcome Mr. Rodney Rogers, the founder partner of Skype, to our event today. Mr. Ryder is a distinguished legal expert with over 25 years of experience in technology, data privacy, intellectual property, and new media law. He serves as an advisor to the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Government of India. Mr. Ryder's expertise has been recognized internationally. He has been nominated as the leading lawyer in intellectual property, technology, communication, and media law by Asia Law, Who's Law, and Asia Legal Fighting. Sir, we are delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Sir.
The esteemed Dean of the Faculty of Law at SRM University. Mr. Singh brings with him a wealth of experience and expertise, having worked across academia, national regulatory bodies, and government bodies. Dr. Singh has demonstrated excellence in his roles at institutions such as HND and UPPs, as well as with the Competition Commission of India and Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. His deep knowledge spans corporate and security law, competition law and policy, insolvency, alternative dispute resolution, and international law. With a PhD in law and an advanced degree in both law and management, Dr. Singh is a dynamic professional, skilled in public speaking, administration, and leadership. His contribution to both legal education and policy development have been truly invaluable. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Vijay Kumar Singh.
Yes, sir. Yes, look here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Raghavendra P. Singh, a leading practicing lawyer and the founding partner of Concept Legal International. With over 24 years of rich experience in various areas of law, Mr. Singh has built a strong reputation, particularly in the field of real estate law. Mr. Singh is the member of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, London, and has an expertise in providing end-to-end legal solutions in real estate matters. His expertise spans over both residential and commercial property across regions such as Delhi NCR, Punjab, Haryana, UP, and Gujarat. Beyond his legal presence, Mr. Singh has been featured on the leading news channel and the newspapers for his expert insights on the real estate laws and regulations. Please give me a huge round of applause in welcoming sir. Now, it's time for the most intellectually enriching part of today's event. We are thrilled to present to you the panel discussion on IP. Let us delve deep into the world of intellectual property with our brilliant minds.
So we have a panel discussion where we are going to discuss about India and let's start. Sir, what is your intake to the possibility of AI chief in IPR? We talk about. Thank you for the question. First of all, for me to predict what impact artificial intelligence will have on intellectual property of the whole is very difficult, because the AI systems that we see in the world today are still in a very nascent stage. They, according to me, do not qualify as more than convenient tools. So therefore, one of the things come that they are convenient tools, powerful tools, but tools with more, I feel, human authorship cannot be shared. Human authorship is a very precious and a sacred thing. It's something we acknowledge from time immemorial irrespective of the culture that we and the background that we come from. So, first is that tools do not create. Now, the impact of an artificial intelligence system on gathering data, on understanding data is immense. We can deploy those tools, we can use it, but it must be remembered that liability must be with the corporation or the individual who uses that tool. Artificial intelligence systems are not, while we cannot share ownership with them, we cannot even share liability with them beyond the point. So when I produce something, I can't say that ChatGPT made the error. That would be unfair. I like when people in school, they can't say that the dog ate my homework. Right? So we cannot blame something beyond the point. Then AI hallucinates, it hallucinates. Accept it. But if I take a brief and put it before a client or submit an academic paper to my learned friend Professor Senior, I am responsible for the paper, not this machine. So, if I'm honest, I can credit, but I cannot blame. So that's, I think, those are some of my opening remarks. I think we'll explore the theme as we go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Sir, where we are seeing scenario, I would like to take your opinion on this. Because I think you have done great work in this. If you can throw more light on it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity, for thinking of me that I can be part of this panel. First of all, many thanks for calling me. It is a wonderful day. Since morning, we are doing something. I think World IPR Day, 26th of April, we all celebrate. Objective of this particular day is basically to have a look back and see that how we are protecting our intellectual property. Generally, when we talk about tangible property, we are talking much, but when we talk about intangible property, somewhere we are not paying that much of an attention. And that is quite visibly, as Rodney gave a beautiful example, that you cannot give the justification that your homework was eaten by a dog. Definitely yes, but when we look forward, and right now, if we are looking forward of utilization of intellectual property in academic matters, let me touch upon that, and then we will move on since the point has come up. I am finding that it is converting into a bane rather than a boon. Because what I find is that the present generation, I include myself in that generation, which is using the IP tools too much, the AI tools too much into their assignments, into their work, which I personally feel should be the last resort rather than the first resort. Because you just put in the prompt and then you get the response and then you go ahead with that particular response. It is a good thing, it saves your time, but not in the initial days. So I believe it is good for a professional who has already gone through the grill and now he wants quick notes. As you know, I don't know how many of you have briefed senior lawyers, but when you go to a senior lawyer listens to you on major points, right? But you have to become a senior lawyer for that. If the briefing counsel starts doing the same, then it is very difficult for the senior lawyer to understand what the case is. Take this analogy to the same AI principles. So AI is a good tool to be utilized only when you are thorough with the matter. If you are not yourself thorough with the matter and you are thinking that AI is going to help you, probably it is killing your thought process or your critical mind or your evaluation. This is what is my assessment from the perspective of the assignments which I get to evaluate, the way the students are writing their papers. So this is the initial thought process, and that actually pains us and it is alarming also. Many a times I think that where this particular, whether we will have in future, lawyers like Soli Surabji, Nariman, these kind of thought-provoking people, Sirwai, who has given such a beautiful commentary on different provisions, whether we will be able to get it if we don't nurture critical thinking at the initial stages. This is one point which I would like to say. So the contribution of the AI tools in framing or bringing up intellectual property is okay, but I think the original thinking or original creative mind has to be there. So this is what is my initial comment which I would like to give, and as we progress, I would like to speak more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ravindra, I would like to, immediately glad that. Ravindra, do you have any say in deepfake things which is happening right now? What is your take on that? The AI digital things.
As I said, the two concepts, whether intellectual property includes intellectual and artificial intelligence includes our artificial. So the basic concept, whether the property which relates to some intellect is under threat. And I will say that deepfake thing, it very much undermines the sanctity of intellectual property. What someone owns, say the voice of Amitabh Bachchan, it can be processed, or the face of Amitabh Bachchan, it is processed with someone dancing, and with no control over anyone. So yes, it's quite a dangerous thing. It needs to be regulated in some manner. But if it is not regulated, then there is no end to it. Also, I see that all AI is in self-learning tools. So if we rely on AI too much, then and we keep on depending on it, then its own learning will start degenerating. Right? So if you don't apply your own intellect, then it won't learn. It will learn from itself, and the more you don't feed some actual thought intelligence into it, it will rely on its own thoughts and it will start degenerating, and the time will end, come when there will be no originality. We will ask AI to draft a letter and then it will come with a crap, so to say. So I don't see that AI it should only be a tool. It should not be something from which we should absolutely rely. I also read somewhere that you need to look after your health because your doctor is writing his paper with AI. So this kind of thing which we are looking at.
Deepfake is basically a technology where you are faking like it is original, but the word itself is fake. So, however original it may be, it is a fake, right? So you must have seen the copy doubles in movies, right? So duplicate Amitabh Bachchan, duplicate Shah Rukh Khan, right? And duplicate people around. Now, these are not originals, right? But they look alike. So this is what is the concept. But deepfakes nowadays are utilized for multiple frauds. So the challenge here is relating to that particular area, because deepfakes are not a fun anymore. All these particular deepfakes which are utilized for perpetrating number of crimes. And there are number of crimes which are happening, and sir will be able to shed more light on it. I'm just introducing the topic so that he can speak more on that area. Nowadays, you see how much deepfake is utilized for multiple purposes. It is utilized in all social media. Nowadays, deepfakes with every aspect is being taken care, brought up. Just for example, you see many political leaders being mocked. They have not spoken those words, but that particular thing is put in their words and similar to it because it is easier to manufacture it through AI tools. So tomorrow, I will be surprised that I am here and the video gets recorded and something else is spoken which I have not spoken. It is very much possible. That is possible nowadays. So initially, people used to get shocked with these, but now, fortunately, now people are getting used to it. So now, if they get to know something, they discard it. They are ignoring it. because they know that it cannot be the person who has spoken. But again, it raises challenges, and I think that Sir will be able to speak more on this particular aspect. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that we are at a very, very important crossroad of history. And that is the intersection of human creativity and artificial intelligence, and how they, cross each other. We've already seen a tremendous, what you call a force multiplier, as I would say, in law enforcement because of artificial intelligence. And then, of course, as useful is the advantage we have got, as much we have got the ethical issues, the privacy issues, and so many other issues. And I think we can relate that to the IPR also. For example, we have this facial recognition which we are using in San Francisco and United States of America. They've already started questioning that how you can, because there are certain biases also of the people who are there, who attest these various and give the results. There are so many other issues which come, but let me just say that the question of biometrics, these have been, of course, tested in the courts also, whether it's Aadhaar or not, whether your facial thing should be checked everywhere, it's on all border patrols, it's on all immigration, it's everywhere. Should your data be just floating around for a kind of a government surveillance? This is already an issue which is coming up against the artificial intelligence. The question of deep fakes, which Mr. Singh has rightly talked about, in fact, even in the IPR, I believe one of the most important cases is the Getty images, which have gone against the stability AI. I don't know what is the for the photos. Deep fakes are causing the biggest headache to the law enforcement, because as Mr. Singh said, these various kinds of photos which are coming with something which they have not said. And these are creating law and order situations, and this has led to a lot of other issues. Rodney, I think, has been advisor to the Ministry of IT. He'd, vouch for me. The law enforcement is asking for the origin of the message. The origin of the message, means breaking the encryption. Breaking the encryption means completely making that security architecture vulnerable. So what I'm saying, where are we going? The question is to trace the originator, or to trace one crime. You are rendering the chats of 10 lakhs people vulnerable. So what do? There is a tremendous choice you have to make in a democracy, and that is also going the same thing in government surveillance. And which is the tool which is being used? It's the artificial intelligence. So one thing which I would say, that you're all experts in the IPR, that IPR is all about human creativity. Somebody has already talked about it. It's all about innovation. It's all about creation. And if we are not able to preserve it, if we don't have constructs or framework to defend it, there's no point using this, technology and other things. And last thing, for the kids here, I'm sorry, I'm the oldest here, not the wisest, but I can only give you advice. I also use the chat GPT. Suppose I have to speak before some television channel, or I have to produce an article in a day. Right now I'm writing a code. I consult ChatGPT, but only in an area where I'm very strong myself. Suppose I'm writing an article on Manipur. Then I check by facts. Okay, 1947, these were the terrorist groups. Am I missing out anyone? So then I go through that. Then I see, ideologically, there was some problem on the border of Myanmar. FMR. Is it 16 kilometers? Is it 32 kilometers? So he's very, very right, Mr. Singh says, that you can sharpen your thought process, you can sharpen your text, you can sharpen your material with the extra material which you get. And mind you, I don't take ChatGPT again, the whole thing. Then I go to the sources. And from the source when you check, because that is the ultimate thing you write in your footnote. Age 54, article by such and such. So that is something you should always keep in mind. That's right.
I would like Rodney sir to share some of the person's case.
There is a problem because if you see the origins of deepfake technology, the origins of deepfake technology has actually been promoted by politicians, and is now reining it in becomes tough once you let it out. One of I think my friend Ravindra made a very important statement when he called out the artificiality of AI. Because and I see a lot of young law students here, I think we should focus on what we mean by intelligence per se. Because there are two important articles I would bring you to. One is Alan Turing's famous computing intelligence article, which spawned the idea of the imitation game. How do you tell a machine is intelligent when it can fool another human being into thinking that they are conversing with another human? So, intelligence based on fraud. But John Searle takes us in the Chinese room. He describes machines who are talking in Chinese without understanding. So I was studying law when according to me personally, a terrible thing happened. The reigning world chess champion Gary Kasparov got defeated by Deep Blue, a machine who could remember every chess game ever played in recorded chess history. So, which made a young law student like me wonder, are machines really intelligent? Which brings us to the question, what is intelligence? And psychiatrists tell us that intelligence is more than one thing. It's emotional intelligence, it's neuromuscular kinetic intelligence, it's interpersonal intelligence. And if you see each one of these parts, let's take interpersonal intelligence. Now some politicians, have it in them very much. Some people don't have it. But even then there is no measuring standard. Why? Julius Caesar led thousands of little battles. He had tremendous interpersonal intelligence. He had his old legions. But yet on the 8th of March, he walked into the Senate not knowing that 24 people, not one or two, 24 people were ready to die. So interpersonal intelligence is a different thing. Many of us find it tough to read every room every time. So having a machine do that is but coming to the mechanics of the deepfake operation. Now what I would dread is this combination of man and machine. A human being using technology, using cutting-edge technology to perpetrate fraud. Just as I would fear a human being using the latest weapons, our problem is when we ultimately let go of our decision-making intelligence. Because you will remember, again, another anecdote when we were in college, starting college, Terminator 2 was released. Now Terminator 2 was a scary movie. Why? Because it had a very scary line in it. Probably the scariest line in modern cinema. It says, on such and such day, Skynet became self-aware. Now when the machine gained that kind of consciousness and said, I want this concept. At present, we are far away from it. We are talking about tools, we are talking about algorithms. We are far away from consciousness. But we've seen the EU Artificial Intelligence Act. We've seen how they want to classify high-risk systems to ensure transparency, and that will go a long way. As long as our leadership, and I'm not talking about India any alone, I'm talking about global leadership is on the right side. Because India alone cannot do without international cooperation. What kind of machines, what kind of tools are we building?
Other things which I would want to add, the dangers, like ChatGPT, works on open source. Suppose tomorrow some of my clients make some comment somewhere on the internet, I will allow. Right? Thereafter, someone checks it, tell me something about Ravindra, then it will come around that it will know about law. And 5 times it will search it, then it will become stronger and stronger and stronger. And then even if I ask, tell me something about me, will come back and say that it doesn't know about law. So these are the very dangerous aspects and there is no control over it. So, and it also affects the evidence that I do a lot of commercial arbitration. And when we do the search and someone puts the fake document into the keywords and we do the answer, it is not there. Now it becomes very difficult to then look whether it's a genuine document or not. Party will spend hundreds of millions of pounds coming into it, whether the document is original or document is not original, and going to a good document. So these are the issues which we are now started facing. Maybe gradually we'll be able to find some solution. But at this stage, we are just trying to identify the problem. Maybe once we identify the problem, we'll be able to start working on the solution. But that's where we are.
So it is a very good thing for this particular generation that they are in a phase where you are seeing the things changing. Probably after 5-7 years, everything will crystallize. Like there are certain things which, when we started, it was very Greek and Latin for us. But now things have started seeping in. Now you are aware about those areas and you are carefully treading in. So this transitory phase will also pass. So and tools will emerge. This is what is my idea. And we say that we all should now have some sandboxes in which these experiments should happen, rather than a general public. Why we are facing so much of cyber crimes or frauds, particularly if you see click frauds or any kind of frauds which are happening to people on mobile particularly, is because of a lot of e-banking happening and many people getting connected to e-banking or mobile banking without understanding how to operate it. And having that proper training or idea about operation of those tools, and that actually exposes them to these particular different challenges, or you can say the crimes. And hence it is important that the citizens who are exposed to these things, they should be properly trained. But unfortunately, we are in a country where we wish to learn driving on the roads. Right? So we take the license later, we learn the driving first, right? So probably we will learn similarly. This is what is my active view of the matter. Yeah. So over to you.
There are two things I wanted to talk about. One which has had a great impact on the society, and just now we alluded to it, that is the hate speeches. And so now we are using again AI tools and it takes some ingredients, which again, something which is similar to your idea when you're checking for fakes or copies or things like that. And now it has become a great issue because the Supreme Court has said that you rather focus on these hate speeches, which is important, rather than registering cases just like that. Which is true because this is what is creating a problem in society. And the issue is that once you are picking out those statements, then again this is a human faculty which is going to assess, okay, this has been picked up by the AI. Can we audit a hate speech? Does it constitute a hate speech? Because it is speaking up on the basis of some phrases or some words. So that is where the human mind primacy has to be made over this. And the other point which I was saying is that in general, the AI in law enforcement has brought in a lot of concerns. Privacy concerns are being raised at least. Then, if there is a historical bias attached to your database, then obviously that is the kind of thing which is being thrown up. So that's a very, very important thing which has to be seen in artificial intelligence. That is where is that? Because after all, the artificial intelligence is guiding you from the available data. And where that data has been put in, how the data tools have been used, what is the algorithm which you have put in. According to that, only you will get the relevant answers. So these are some of the things which you have to keep in mind. And lastly, of course, once again, when you are using these artificial intelligence tools, as they say, in a computer, you put in crap, and the crap will come out. So unless you hit the right direction, and that is for preparing your graphs and things like that, you will never be able to get the right thing what you're getting at. And as somebody rightly pointed, that it is always the mind. So at this stage, it should be more and more, labor. It should be more and more labor. With our handwriting, with that pen, I still use an ink pen like everything.
I think that I started by talking about the classification, intelligence, and now it's moved on to bias. And bias is something which we live with. We live with all the time, and it is not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Richard Feynman, the noted physicist, said that whenever anybody asks me which ice cream I have, I always say chocolate ice cream. Because I've had it once and I want to apply my mind every time. There are 40 different flavors to it. So, bias. If I describe a day, and I say it's a wonderful day, and my friend Ravindra steps out and he sees the training, this is what's so great and wonderful about it, is because language has limitations. So, we work within these series of limitations. On World Intellectual Property Day, we must make sure that we do not surrender our creativity. But every speaker on this panel, I think, would agree that we have that gift of originality. If we are going to add that as youngsters, as young students, we have that pride in what we submit. So therefore, if we just use ChatGPT just because we are behind the deadline and we want to just submit an essay, that is so grossly unfair to us and unfair to our own intelligence when we could come up with so much more and so much more originality. And and each one has their own style. I look at law students, I look at law professors, I look at practicing lawyers, and each one of us has our own style. I look at each one of us and go boringly, churning out the same stuff. The world will become a terrible place. And yes, when we look at data is being produced in the world like never before in human history. Because it's not only produced, but it's recorded. In our early interactions at the Ministry of IT, our main concern which law enforcement had was, can we keep call records a bit longer? Just a bit longer. And a telecom service provider will shrug their shoulders and say, sorry, it takes up space, is too expensive. Now, call records are not deleted. And what that could mean for all of us. Data is just being collected. And now we are also solving some really interesting problems with data.
It's a very, very important point. The data being collected, and I'm a law enforcer, and yet I'm telling you, because I was also a Central Information Commissioner, a lot of information. Justice Buddha Swami judgment said it very clearly that you can invade privacy only when you can violate fundamental right, only when it is absolutely essential, number one. You will do it. That means use this in a proportionate manner and only for the time being. And that is why this entire huge thing that framed this all records and data, people are protesting and saying, and this new right to privacy law must read all these youngsters. Two acts are very, very important. One is the right to information, and the other is the right to privacy. And in this right to privacy, again, it has been, in fact, it violates the right to information by saying that no data can be given. Earlier on, the data could be given in the interest, in the public interest. What about corruption? What about accountability? What about so many things which people need to know about government schemes? So, in this, the data recorded, or even the government surveillance, it should only be for that time. It should be explained. That means there should be no other way of getting that information, and it should be there only for that time. So that is where the problem of this data storage for a long time is. It helps the security forces because you detect cases about a year back or 1.5 years back, and that is how some of the cases are being detected.
Now the law of US have started implementing policies on the use of these AI tools, more to protect the client confidentiality. Sometimes associates they are drafting documents and they write up the party's name. And that remains much open source document. So tomorrow if I have to file an invention without noticing someone and I'm drafting it on the AI tool, and the other person is a distant thing, he might find that he will get the copy. You said if there is an individual against this or something, he might get the sense that, what are their grounds of invention. If I put something against myself, if I, what are the intentions, grounds of invention in this case? And because someone else is related, so we are now being trained and there are policies coming up, sessions coming up, to say like what to put in and what not to put in. Yes, you cannot skip it, it's important. There are so many ways to where you can do. Like when you do a search, so in international, there are thousands of pages which you have to flip through and you use the keywords on those times. They are very good. But when you know that which other thing is not. Yes, there are always plus and minus. And one needs to be self-conscious and self-disciplined about what they are using, how they are using.
Can I ask a question to these youngsters? Have you ever been caught by your seniors when you do a ChatGPT essay or something? You won't tell. Huh? Are you using ChatGPT or not?
They are using it, they get
So exactly. So you get the essay from there, you change the language. But I'm just telling you, I shouldn't say in front of them. ChatGPT, for every time you do a search, it's a song brain. It will give you a different text. So it cannot be traced.
So a day layout, we get papers and projects from the students, and I don't need 3 lines, more than 3 lines to be read. And the trick for doing it is because I myself use ChatGPT. So I know that what ChatGPT can produce, and the way, because it is too mechanical. When you write yourself, your language has got that emotion which got we talked about. So, yeah. So because see, what she's saying basically nowadays the students are struggling with grammar or proper grammatical sentences or maybe a legal language, right? So I'm not talking about you, but generally these students which we are talking about is that the formation of sentences, it takes a lot of, and this is intellectual property. Yes, so you can just, even if you put few words without grammars in ChatGPT, they will give you a proper form of sentences. This is what happens, and that is what they are using it. But that is itself is an intellectual property, right? So if you are drafting something, that your drafting skill or your draftification is different than someone else's. Like I remember when I practiced in the initial days, my seniors used to draft beautifully, used to dictate, and then that used to be a different kind of a draft altogether. So we used to say that this is his draft who is drafting, or somebody else's draft who is drafting. So that drafting skill or your own ideas, penning it down into your own language is something, is a skill and intellectual property which we are talking about. That is what copyright is. Yes, you have a question. Go ahead.
Very good evening, sir. Sir, my question is, as the student nowadays is struggling with the grammar and they are asking help to create the sentences, or as the Sir Azad sir said, that ChatGPT or the artificial intelligence we use just for the data, not for the intelligence or not for the skill writing. So, if a student who is using artificial intelligence for the legal writing, for the grammar, to correct the grammatical mistake, what is he is observing, or what may be the result further? Either the artificial intelligence is encouraging or increasing his or her skill, or degrading. That's my question.
Okay, whether it is increasing or decreasing?
Yes.
That's what I said, that it all depends on the stage. I told you that what is the stage. You cannot become a senior lawyer on day one. So as a student, what I feel is that you need to go through that particular drill. You need to be confident enough to use that particular tool. From the day one, if you start using that for correcting your sentences without reading Leonard Martin and understanding what are grammatical rules, then probably you will never be able to apply it unless you know that what are the major things which are there in the draft. Because we read drafting from Mogas, right? And our teacher used to tell us what is recitation, how this is written, what is the relevance of this, and this particular thing we studied. Now I think now you just put it in prompt, draft a petition or draft an affidavit and it comes to you. You never understand the process how it is drafted. So that particular thing needs to be understood. Judgments we are talking about, you just write summary of Puttuswamy and they give you 10 points, you read that particular 10 points and be happy. But you just see that in that decision, what judges have written, what is the analysis, how they have gone through it. It's a very long decision, and unless you go through that originally, probably you will not get your own critical skills. When you read that particular decision, probably you will come up with your own idea that okay, fine, this is written, but probably I don't agree with this paragraph. This may have been written in a different way, or I critically don't completely agree with this particular logic. Like for example, I was reading this Vivek Naran case, that is demonetization one. So in demonetization case, there is a dissenting opinion by Honorable Justice Raman Nagarjuna, and you read the logic on the basis of which the dissenting opinion has been given. And I don't agree with few of the paragraphs. Why? Because that is a logic which is given in that particular decision. Maybe not. So when I discuss, this is a public forum. I cannot discuss here, but I do discuss in my class when I discuss with my students. So that original thinking will come only when you read the original. That is what is my submission. So I don't say that don't use ChatGPT. It is a good tool. You can utilize it, but subject to it that first you should ground yourself and then move on to that. It is just like someone saying that I will go for a wrestling competition without practicing in the gym. AI should do it for me. So this cannot happen. This is what is my view. Thank you. Thank you.
From the audience. Yeah.
Professor Singh made a very important point about which I think was intuitive and may I add also slightly emotional. So he said that I can always tell when a student uses unfair means or uses ChatGPT. That goes to a very important thing, a very important element about what it means to be human. What it means to be human is to doubt. exactly what Sir Azad sir told us a little while ago. Despite his vast experience heading organization, he still has room for doubt. That leads us to the next thing, fear. As a person who's written something, and on the panel there are people who've written, there are people who write every day. One of our main hurdles is fear. There are all kinds of fear. Fear of misinforming somebody, the fear of being wrong, the fear of being embarrassed. Doubt and fear is a very important thing. And doubt and fear is something which we treasure. If Arjun didn't have doubt and fear in his mind, he wouldn't have asked the questions of the Lord and he wouldn't have had the Bhagavad Gita. We owe it to Arjun's doubt and fear as much as we owe it, of course, to his grace, benevolence and blessing of the Lord. In the Bible, David reaches out in the Psalms every now and then. He says, look, God save me. Out of the darkness I cry to you, O Lord. David was one of the greatest Hebrew warriors, a general, a king. He also like fearful. He said, my enemies will get the better of me if you are not on my side. The worst mistake that Duryodhana makes, because he makes several, but one of the worst mistakes he makes is to go and sit by the head of the Lord Krishna. It just betrays that he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know who this person is. He does not respect him. So when you are using humility with icon, even that doubt and fear, oh my gosh, I'm going to go into an arbitration hearing tomorrow, and up against me on the other side is Ravindra, who is so much the better lawyer. I'm going to be blown out, so I prepare. The only thing I can do is prepare, and of course pray. Then I make you overconfident.
See, I want to raise a very important issue in front of these distinguished lawyers and, of course, the kids, the young lawyers. Okay. See, today what has happened is, there are a lot of these youngsters, including lawyers, who come to me. Some of them come for some coaching, they want to know. Some of them come because they are competing in the UPSC. So I advise them. One problem which is there, yes, many of them are facing the language difficulty, right? Now, I have always said that language is just a medium. You should never feel bad if you're not able to write in extremely flowery English or beautiful kind of English. You should be able to put your facts right. I understand during my time, there was a kind of a bias. There was a kind of a bias towards the English knowing, well suit booted, जूता वूता अच्छा पहन के गए हैं वहाँ पे, और तो लोग बड़ा इम्प्रेस्ड होते थे. अच्छा लंदन भी गए हुए हैं, अमेरिका से भी आए हुए हैं. But times have changed. So never ये जो चीज़ है अपने दिमाग पे रख लीजिए कि भाषा जो है, भाषा का मतलब है कि आप अपनी बात दूसरों को किस तरह से बताते हैं. ये आवश्यक नहीं है कि आपकी ऐसी हिंदी अंग्रेजी हो कि लोग देखे झूमने लगे और गजल भी हो वगैरह वगैरह. And I think this now has to spread amongst us also, the teachers and the other people. And I always write about this to my friends and peers in the government and other places, in UPSC and others. And so for that, you have to use whatever tools you use them intelligently. First, as Mr. Singh said very right, गलतियां होती हैं, सबसे होती है. शुरू में गलतियां होती हैं तो सीनियर्स तो आपको सिखा ही रहे हैं. तो ग्रामेटिकली मिस्टेक हो तो उससे डरना नहीं चाहिए. आप अपनी गलतियों को छुपाकर अगर चैट जीपीटी यूज कर रहे हैं तो यू हार्मिंग योरसेल्फ. So that's why it is an important thing which we have to also consider and you should also keep in mind.
have questions, but I think I strongly endorse what Sir said. Because when the time comes, you have to let the force of your conviction speak through. So, it's not many people know that Stalin was a stammerer, and he had to go on radio, on terrible radio network in those days at the start, towards the start of the Second World War, and he had to deliver a simple message. And what Stalin said was, leave everything and come to Moscow. He told the farmers on the border. But before you leave, burn everything. Whatever you can travel light. And his famous line was, not 1 pound of flour, not one workable engine must you leave for the invading German army. Not many people know that Moses was a stammerer. But he had enough conviction to tell the Egyptian pharaoh to let the people of Israel go. And he just said 4 words, let my people go. So when you have that conviction, it's important that it comes through to the language is no barrier. I think that's a very important point.
Whenever you use ChatGPT or Grammarly, you see or correct our draft, we should read and we should identify what are the differences, where we made the error, so that once you do it 2 or 3 times, third time you won't need to develop your own writing style.
The tool can always be utilized. So if you are writing a sentence and getting it corrected, then you can also put a prompt in ChatGPT itself where I went wrong and what are the rules of grammar which apply to this. So it will give you that particular input and you can know that yes, this is what, like if you are using articles or if you are using different phrases, what are the meaning of it, whether it should be utilized here or not. These things you can learn from it, but that label has to go. So in fact, if you utilize ChatGPT in this methodology, you will find reading book better. If you have to ask so many questions, then why you are using, like you go to ChatGPT for ease, no. You just want to give one prompt and then your work should be sorted. This is what should be the idea. But that has got a stage. That is what I am trying to tell you. So in the initial stages, like most of you are young lawyers or students, so at that particular stage, probably more effort is needed. Once you are gone through that particular stage, definitely one day you will also become senior. You know, somebody will be there to brief you. And if they do the same job which you are doing right now with the ChatGPT, probably you will not like it. So just imagine yourself 5 years, 10 years down the line and think about it that what I am doing right now to my senior, if my junior will be doing it to me, then probably things will automatically get sorted. This is what is my view of this particular matter. Thank you, Ravindra. Over to you.
Question and answers, please.
For different media, like to file a patent application, okay, there is a time period in which it will get published. You see that ChatGPT can compromise that application. That is one. Second is that students here doing a research paper. How to take care of plagiarism? Because references, etc., and how to take care of that. You do a lot of prior art searches for finding a patent. You do freedom to operate those searches. How artificial intelligence will come into the way, or whether I can rely on those searches. How do you see that enforcement will get into that direction? Yeah.
The way I see it is multifold, because one is for the draftsman. Maybe one needs to rely on tools a little more powerful than just the ChatGPT searches. We are lucky to have a lot of those tools with us in professionally available. But yes, it is something that this panel has alluded to, putting up confidential information, understanding how the patent system works, and knowing that if you give out information, it can be cited against you. So all of that, and what many in India don't realize is the interface between commercial patents and the patent monopoly versus the academic disclosures. Because a lot of very learned people disclose freely, whereas the patent system is a state-granted commercial monopoly. So once we understand, I think more and more of these tools will fit in. And now, whether it's for patent drafting, whether it is for analyzing data or tackling deepfakes, the answer, unfortunately, is a centaur type of answer where it's half man, half machine. If the centaur was half animal, half man, we have to rely on these machines as well as know when to switch on our own intuition, when to switch on our own creativity. And it's going to be fun. Because this is what chess tournaments have become now. There's one player and his software versus another player and his software or her software. So it's going to be quite interesting as we go on, especially in this area where now the patent space is also overcrowded. So if you're talking about any form of tech, you'll find at least 60,000 to 1 lakh patents. So, going through each one, looking at it, analyzing it, will require some resources and some tools. But how do we use the tools, and the way we see some of our clients are now contracting, they are not just taking a tool. They are saying that, look, once we take the tool, we do not want the tool to report back to headquarters with all our information. I mean, if I am using Microsoft Word is not communicating stuff back, or is it? So I'll be very uncomfortable. We assume that these things are not happening. So supposing Microsoft Word is communicating back to headquarters, and Google is, and of course this is not a session on data privacy. Otherwise, the biggest problem with Google is the metadata it collects. If someone were to ask me, for example, where were you on World IP Day? And World IP Day is important for me personally and professionally. If someone asked me where were you on World IP Day 5 years ago at 8 o'clock in the evening, I wouldn't be able to answer. But my phone has all the data. It knows when each one of us came here. It will know when each one of us left. We'll also know when each one of us were in touch with the other person. Did any of us follow up with a phone call or an email after that? So it's a lot of information to have.
Details of this because we seem to be doing it a lot. How the connectivity occurs and how you do the mapping and cross connection of calls. Again, that will be a part of AI. So what we do in one day, we come out with, the AI will give it to me in about 5 minutes. That's the kind of damage or advantage artificial intelligence can do.
So helpful. I sit in my car and it tells me that how much time I will reach what is the traffic. If I get an email, in 2-3 days it says that this email is pending and it will reply. So all these are tools which are very helpful. The only thing is that when we use these tools, we should not be the slave to the tool. We need to keep on disciplining ourselves.
Now I will let all of us know that the floor is open for questions and answers. Please know, guys, we have an award for brilliant and active minds. This means that whoever amongst you participate in the discussion and ask the most intriguing question shall be awarded.
And particularly in patent searches, if we talk about patent search. So while doing the patent search, AI, I doubt that it will be useful at present unless it is a specific tool relating to patent search. If it is, then definitely it will be useful, because ultimately all these AI tools are doing learning from the data which you provided. So it all depends completely that what kind of a data that particular tool is trained with. If it is not trained with proper data, then you will not get the data back. So it all depends on that. Second, when it comes to the drafting of the patent application and putting your language, I am reminded of the basic definition of patent, which talks about novelty. So the novelty would not come in those examples of the draft which will come to you. It won't come. And as far as that plagiarism, avoiding plagiarism you referred to in research paper, I think it is not a good tool to use for plagiarism, because most of the times I have used, it cites wrong citation. So it doesn't give you correct citation most of the times. This is what is my experience with that particular tool. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
Please carry on. I have to go because I was the earliest to come at 4:45.
Thank you, sir, for being part of this whole push.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Cross-border violations in IP. So how can we deal with those cases? And how can we file cases according to that jurisdiction?
I think depending on the law, for example, copyright law is quite clear of where, that is why you have the ENI case going on in the Delhi High Court. So jurisdiction is not as much of a problem for the plaintiff. It might become a definite problem for a defendant, because if ChatGPT is found to violate people's intellectual property in one part of the world, I predict that there will be a number of lawsuits in every corner.
Also, it also depends, what type of dispute. So, if the technology transfer agreement, we say that who owns the IP and there is a breach of it, and there is a jurisdiction problem. It's a no-brainer,
So it has one another aspect that do we need any international cooperation from different countries if any time we decide that we need a law of AI in India? So do we need any treaty or cooperation of that type from different countries? Because it's very difficult to trace the offender. Yes, the cyber criminals or the IP.
So see, on the cyber crimes, I think UN has already worked upon a convention. So the convention is already ready. It is yet to be ratified or signed. So probably in September or something it is lined up. So once that gets signed, then we will have an international convention. At present, you don't have an international convention. As far as between two countries is concerned, there are bilateral arrangements and multilateral arrangements. I can give you one example from competition law because I worked in that area. So we have extraterritorial jurisdiction. So what it says that if anything which affects markets in India, Competition Commission gets the jurisdiction of it. That is called extraterritoriality. So anyone who is sitting somewhere in US or European Union and their conduct affects markets in India, then in that situation, Commission gets the jurisdiction to deal with that particular issue. Then comes the matter where there are international cartels, or cartel is happening where people are joining from 3 or 4 countries together. Then in that situation, if there is a hard agreement, that is a treaty, then everything is laid down. If there is not a treaty, then it is mutual legal assistance which happens. And that happens by way of conventions. And different agencies always have some connection to it. But when it comes to transporting a person from one place to another place, as you would have seen in multiple cases, it is a difficult process. So it is not that easy, and all those processes needs to be followed. And that is why you will see there is a now, governments are saying you have data localization. We want the server to be placed in the country where you are operating. Why that requirement? Because data is available to you here. If your servers are somewhere in Singapore, you need to be abide by Singapore law. And that is why governments are insisting that your data has to be at the local place. So these things are a bit complicated and solutions are emerging. As I told you, this is a transitory phase, right? But as Rodney sir pointed out, the basic thing is, the problem is for defendant. If I as a petitioner getting affected, I will file a case in my jurisdiction. This is what will happen, right? Yeah.
Artificial intelligence, then how the liability for infringement is decided?
You are saying basically the enforcement by artificial intelligence.
If intellectual property rights are enforced through artificial intelligence, then how we decide the liability for the infringement of rights?
Okay. So see, there are different intellectual properties, right? And every intellectual properties take with artificial intelligence will be different. Like say for example, you talk about artificial intelligence in plant varieties. There cannot be any artificial intelligence I cannot think of, which in plant varieties you can apply. Because that has to be done in the field. So it cannot, artificial intelligence cannot, right? So you talk about patents. Artificial intelligence can only transiently help. So major challenges with reference to the artificial intelligence and copyright creation is with reference to copyright, because that is the maximum, violations which will happen in copyright, right? So that is what I can think. Trademark also, I don't think artificial intelligence will be that much of a design. Again, it can be. So say for example, there is a design violation. So in those situations, that will be, a situation where the artificial intelligence interface will come up. But similar laws will apply. I don't think that there has to be a separate law for the violation with reference to the artificial intelligence.
I would like to put a hold to the question and answer now. We are deeply honored to welcome Honorable Justice Rajiv Shankar, a distinguished jurist whose illustrious career has significantly shaped India's legal landscape. Justice Shankar began his legal practice in 1987, focusing on civil, constitutional, taxation and corporate law. Before the Delhi High Court and the Supreme Court of India, he has served as a judge of the Delhi High Court, held a tenure at the Madras High Court, and was later appointed Chief Justice of the Himachal Pradesh High Court. Justice Shankar is renowned for his progressive and landmark judgments. Notably, in May 2022, he ruled in favor of criminalizing marriage. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today. I would like Ravendra sir to present the plan to serve.
Yes. Okay.
Is that right? No, sir. It is for legal recognition in court proceedings. For what? Court proceedings. For the artificial intelligence output, whether it should be court proceedings, how we can legally recognize AI. Right. So your it is output, then as long as that output is flagged and is also accounted for by, see, we have to ascertain or rather fix responsibility. So if I am filing something or if I am pleading something and I am using artificial intelligence in my pleading, and if I flag it and I say, yeah, this is a tool, I've used it and this is the outcome, it is relevant, and if I as an officer of the court put it before the court and the learned judge who looks into the matter, then yes, why not? Why not? But when it comes to, remember, the responsibility lies with the officer of the court, with the system. Tomorrow, it should not be that there is an error. And if there is an error, who is responsible? It is the human who is responsible, not the artificial intelligence system. So we have to be clear about that. And since I misunderstood your question and we spoke about personhood, right now we are looking at AI tools which are still very nascent. There is no question of liability arising on the tool itself. But as we've seen in the European Artificial Intelligence Act, the liability must be on the creator. And one of the core principles is transparency. Because remember, we spoke about the Turing test, the imitation game. Now, imitation game is fantastic for computer scientists to play, but we don't want it to be played out in a court of law.
Appointed an AI Indian lawyer to argue his case, and judge rightly refused to accept that. There are a couple of reasons for it. That one, the pleadings have to be certified that I know the facts, and there is a verification and there is a statement of the oath which cannot be relied on by the AI tool. And the second thing is, as you said, that you cannot personify the AI. It has to be some figure or some operator who will use that tool. So its recognition to that extent at the moment is not there. Although certain companies like LexisNexis is spending millions and millions of pounds on creating AI tools to draft and produce copy, but they are all assisting tools. You cannot say that the tool should go and argue. It will assist you in arguing. That's not it.
Give the event in which we upload photos of us and it converting to animation. People are doing it deliberately. So what are your views on this? Because it is a breach of privacy also.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. This Ghibli trend is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for us as data privacy lawyers because the protection under law coming down from Puthaswamy to the present act is there are two cornerstones: consent and harm. So if I give away the keys to the kingdom, then I cannot then claim. Most of us haven't even read the terms of ChatGPT before we are putting up private pictures. We are making ourselves identifiable to AI systems, and then we speak of some kind of a science fiction plus Orwellian nightmare where we are talking about when machines will take over. When machines come and identify each one of us, it will be probably because we put up pictures up over there to be turned into funny Ghibli images. And it's this kind of awareness that should be sought and promoted. There's a limit to what one can do. So I think your question is very pertinent. For me, it is a professional nightmare. See, at the moment, I would agree with what my colleague says. Now, let us take 2 steps back. We spoke about the Turing test, the imitation game. Also, John Searle's article, The Chinese Room, which says that, look, if 2 programs have been claimed to talk in Chinese and they're conversing with each other without understanding what is going on, it's can we actually say that they understand Chinese? And there are so many emotional things associated with language. So obviously when we come to the output, it becomes questionable. Now a few years ago we had that macaque monkey take a photograph in the wild. Now many wildlife enthusiasts, animal lovers said, the monkey should get a copyright. The monkey should get a copyright. How is that possible when the monkey doesn't know what it is up to? The monkey cannot understand the output. The monkey cannot understand what copyright is. The monkey will probably barely recognize itself. The reason why we are all here and sitting and ruling the world is because we can communicate with human beings we've never ever met. We can communicate intergenerationally. No other animal can do that. So these are again my biased views, but I cannot see this sort of the honor of being an author, which lies with the greatest of the greats, Rishi Vedyas for the Mahabharata or Rishi Valmiki for the Ramayana, being given to a machine just because it can mathematically use an algorithm via a prompt to generate a work without it understanding. So when there is no understanding behind it, then mere maths, even our maths teachers in school, when we used to come, I remember in school, rapidly approaching the class when it was board exams, when our teacher was discussing calculus, and inevitably the answer in calculus used to be 0. So our professor said, "Now what is the answer?" And I had the bright spark, said 0. He says, "Rodney, we are not talking about your marks. We are talking about, the actual answer to this." So if I cannot demonstrate, even in a mathematical equation, how I got the result and why I got it, and with what emotion, then I have no right to claim authorship. That is my personal view.
We know that it has a good part and a bad part. Can we have your expertise on the fact that how can we cure the bad part?
See, at the moment, that's a fundamental question which will be debated by our generation around the world. What have we done to ourselves? We decided to protect this innocent platform. So 25, 30 years ago actually, we gave ourselves, by we I mean the human race, we gave ourselves this fiction of the intermediary. We put a shield around the bulletin board and said if the owner of the bulletin board is not aware of what Mr. Ryder or Professor Singh has posted, then it cannot be liable. So the platform became the greatest legal fiction of our time. And humbly I would say the greatest legal fiction after the company. 500 years ago, some mischievous nobles in the court of Elizabeth I said, "We want to create the first company for naughty activities. Because we are actually officials of the court of the Queen. We cannot indulge in this activity ourselves. But what do we want to do? We are jealous of the Spaniards bringing gold in shiploads from South America. So what we do is 4 or 5, or it's open to everyone actually, anyone who wants to subscribe can subscribe to the joint stock company which is going to fund the Golden Hind. The Golden Hind was a light, fast ship, small, which would trail the Spanish Armada. The Spaniards would go in groups of 7, 8, 9 ships. One that could fall back would be attacked by this weapon-heavy light ship. We would run off with the gold. The first ever company was set up for all the wrong reasons in the world. And since then to now, regulators have been after corporate way, all this kind of fun activity. So artificial intelligence does not occur in a vacuum. It occurs supported by big tech. Jack Rossi, I think, turned on the other day and said, delete all IP. Why delete all IP? When you benefited from IP all your career, you delete all IP now because you want everything to be free for your machines to use it. Software patents in the Silicon Valley. How is it that the United States of America is the only country that supports software per se? It's because it's important for their industry. So it's time that we also start thinking. We've done some thinking level. We cannot only leave it to the courts in this brilliant novartis judgment or in a series of brilliant IP judgments that our courts have passed, especially the Delhi High Court. We have to have a plan. Going in without a plan, like we spoke about what to do with AI. Without having an AI readiness checklist, what am I going to do with this tool? It's like in me as a young boy with my father's camera. I want to shoot something. I'm glad my dad gave me a camera and not a rifle. Otherwise, I don't know what else would I ever have done. So, without a plan and without a focus, what are you going to do? Are you goal oriented and to what extent? That's part of my
Big calls and interviews. But my son usually calls the games. And my daughter is this time I want it. So we cannot regulate how we use phone except our self-restraint and some discipline within the house that you can use phone for this purpose, and for this time. So maybe over the period of time some strict regulations will be required. Some regulations or cooperation agreements that what cannot be used. Sometimes you get a gun license for safety, you don't get a license to kill. So these are the regulations. And these kind of regulations may be needed and may come in future.
How is the generative AI
industry of companies in short term? Yes, that but I'm not.
Generative AI, how it is going to impact the...
On our industry or our companies?
I don't think there is going to be a lot of impact by generative AI. So what is generative AI actually?
Artificial intelligence?
Yeah, artificial intelligence, you are talking about generative AI. What is generative AI? Generative AI is a very basic thing, right? So when we talk about artificial intelligence, what artificial intelligence is? Artificial intelligence is something which is training on the data already available, right? So it has got multiple responses, it learns from those responses and tries to give you the response again. These are large language models, which we call it, right? So these models, you are saying what impact it will have on industry, right? This is what you are saying basically. So these models and tools, and these models and tools are there for the industry to utilize them. One thing is that no industry player can be aloof of this. They have to internalize this particular development in their processes. So say for example, if they don't internalize, it will be just like in the telecom market we had phone called Nokia. Now it didn't innovate. We are on a World Intellectual Property Day. If you don't innovate, if you don't internalize certain information, you will be obsolete. People will move to those tools or those products which utilize them, right? So this is how the artificial intelligence or these technologies are going to impact. Say for example, we are talking about a company which is not utilizing AI to sieve the consumer data. And there is a company which is utilizing to sieve the consumer data, right? So for example, let us take two restaurants. One restaurant which is AI based and there is another restaurant which is not AI based, okay? So you as a consumer, when you go to an AI based restaurant, probably when you enter, at that point in time, they will be able to tell you that what food you had 3 days back or maybe 1 day back. Probably they will give you a new dish, order that yes, you had this particular food 2 days back, this is something which has come up new. Or maybe on your food pattern, they understand that what you like most. Probably your welcome drink will be the drink which you drink. This is what are the innovations which are possible with these particular tools, right? But again, the question comes that whether you want to expose yourself to that particular tool or you want to use it, so it has got all pros and cons. There will be people who will not go to it. Like for example, my father, when he was there, he never used an ATM card. Never. So bank provided, but he said that no, I don't want it. I don't want to get exposed to this particular tool. This is what was his choice. Probably these industries will get impacted by them and they have to take a call. At the end of the day, what consumer is wanting. Just take in the e-commerce market. Now there are companies, everybody is now trying to service you in 10 minutes. Why that is possible? Because there is an innovation created now by a company. Now everybody wants to compete with that particular thing. You want everything in 10 minutes, right? So these are the developments, and definitely industry is going to be impacted by these developments generally, but not per se with generative AI as such. That is what is my point. Yeah.
My question is from Rodney. Being an advisor of the Ministry of IT, so this time we have the tools available in the market and we don't have the laws. So previously, for the movies, we have the censor board who first see, rectify, cut, and then publish. Now the things come in the market as per the digital content of mobile phone and internet. There is no such thing, such a regulatory body like the censor board. So things first come in the market, then we see, and then we just add our views, and then government take the decisions on. So do we have any precautions where we can filter, where we can see whether this thing should be published in the market or not?
If you're talking about AI tools and you're talking about whether a tool should be released or not, presently there is no country in the world that has a law, except the nearest is the European Union law, which talks about high-risk tools. But otherwise, these tools and scraping tools for collection of data, for example, or video editing tools, you just took a little longer to create deepfake videos, or you took a little longer to scour the internet and collect all the email addresses from, say, the Supreme Court or the Delhi High Court Bar Directory. That could be done without AI with a simple Google search, and it will generate an Excel sheet. This was much before ChatGPT. Please answer. So, when you look at regulating, you look at the relevant law, you look at the harm which is going to be caused. And many of these things, unless there is a complainant and unless there is serious harm, you are, even the data regulators might be extremely helpless when they come to see this Ghibli phenomenon. So, because it violates, but no. The European data regulator under the GDPR has more powers to check on things and say, no, this is harmful for overall society. And that is why one of the reasons why there are two sets of jurisdictions where tariff negotiations are going to be long and tough. One, of course, is China, that's quite obvious. But the other is European Union. And European Union, the tariffs are not about real tariffs. They are about their regulator regulating the tech giants of the world. Because the European Union regulators are showing the world how to regulate tech, which the Americans don't like, because they don't want tomorrow the Africans, the Indians, somewhere halfway across the world to learn from Europe. How has our competition commission started pulling up Google and other players? How are we talking about digital dominance? So all of this will come in. Fortunately or unfortunately, the law is a little more measured and slow. So we expect responses on all of these. At the moment, our threats are a mixture of architecture of the internet, big businesses, collection of data, and AI comes further down the list. The minute AI starts popping up the list or moving up in the top 5 or the top 2 threats, we'll see regulation around the world. And right now, of course, we have to know where data is going. Transparency, how are AI systems being trained? And many jurisdictions are now waking up to that.
Of the jurisdiction, as we know, the data has no boundaries and liquider than the money team. So, either who may be the regulatory body, how can we check or finding or what may be their jurisdiction, because data can travel anywhere across the world.
So every single law tries to bring in their, tries to assert jurisdiction. So we have the GDPR trying to assert. We have our very own IT Act, which says any offence involving a computer system or network will be an offence in India. So we see a number of such provisions, and we'll have to see how these are actually enforced as we go. Thank you.
I think that's the end of it. Now we come to the most awaited moment, that was the presentation of a memento for the most intriguing questions. Sir, do you have any specific question in mind? Winner in mind, if you would present a memento to Ms. Shivalika. Yes.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Congratulations, ma'am. As we come to the close of this thought-provoking and enriching gathering, it is heartening to reflect on the depth of the insights we have witnessed today. From honoring traditions that guide us to internet, to exploring the futuristic fusion of artificial intelligence with intellectual property rights, the summit has truly been a celebration of innovation grounded in wisdom. But no event is complete without expressing our heartfelt gratitude. The people who made today possible, who have worked tirelessly on stage and behind the scenes to ensure that this summit resonates with the purpose and professionalism. And so, it is only fitting that we now call upon our founder, Raghavendra sir, for the vote of thanks.
I thank him for those things, and I would like to call Rodney sir and say a few words that the person has started those things. How will it shape up and how it thinks that you kids, how will train them so that they can be a very good trainer as my lawyers is.
Thank you so much. I will not take much time. Neither will I give too much advice, which I haven't worked on. It's just that be alert, keep on reading all your life, and you, all the young people will face much more difficulty. We thought that our lives were tough, but we saw the best of things. Because when I was starting in the profession, I think my first internship, we was about close to 30 years ago. Supreme Court cases used to come on a CD, and it was easy for us to search. So one lazy afternoon, when I was quite hungry, like I am just now, and I'm sure a lot of you are, I entered into the search engine chocolate, and I found 2 Supreme Court cases, excise cases, which mentioned the word chocolate, and I was stunned. Because prior to that, we used to have to collect digests, sift through them, check out the case and say, this case looks promising because of the keyword. Go and read, unfortunately, the entire case. Now, all of you have to decide personally what you are going to do with all that time which comes about when you don't have to read every word of every case. But no, jokes apart. There is no substitute. Like the panel has said, you've got, I thank Raghavendra for putting together a fantastic panel because it has a range of experience. Professor Singh is a noted academician and author of books who's trained youngsters from the first day of law school. Ravindra is a transnational, trans-border, international, globe-trotting lawyer who's going to catch a flight and head back to the UK. So there's a how did we all get here? A lot by design and a lot by accident. You will need to look out for opportunities, you will need to work hard, and you will need to keep on learning, especially your generation, so that you are actually smart as well as in a position to outsmart any machine. So I wish you all the very best. And for us, there are a few years left to call it a day. But for you, you have the entire career ahead, and I think it will be very exciting for you. The years ahead and the kind of changes you're going to see are going to be enormous. I wish you all the best, and I hope that each one of you are up to the challenges and up to the tasks that life sets you. Wish you all many blessings, especially the youngsters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raghavji, for inviting me first of all. What should I say? Today is basically World Intellectual Property Day, and we celebrate this year's theme for intellectual property is music. So protection of IP rights for musicians, and this is such a complicated area. And when I was going through some literature today in the afternoon, I had one presentation online to give in this area on melody and competition. So we were talking about the competition issues in IPR, particularly music industry. And I remember one case, and that case was HT Media versus Super Cassettes Limited. Long time back, 2011 case. And unfortunately, that case is still not decided. The jurisprudence still lies there. That yes, what has happened to that case is still going on. So when we talk about intellectual property and protecting the intellectual property, there a lot goes into the culture of the society, because it is not only a legal right, but it is also a moral right. So basically, it is more about morality of protecting somebody's work. So I would like to just emphasize this particular point, that all laws, particularly for the intellectual property rights or intellectual property laws, can only be protected when this moral standard or moral ground is very high. Otherwise, howsoever laws you bring in, these things cannot be protected. And just think about a common man. He doesn't have a wherewithal to go to court and fight litigation. Say somebody wrote a book and his book gets copied or someone copies it. Big litigations you can see in movies, when there is a big project. There can be a lot of litigation which can happen in this area. But what about a common man who has thought about something, or maybe a student or your fellow colleague has thought about a paper and you have written it, and before you publish it, somebody else has published it. So on all these dimensions, I believe this moral ground is very, very high, has to be very, very high, and that is where we will be able to protect. So it is all about values, the system which has to grow. So these are the few words which I would like to say on this occasion. We are all, as Rodney pointed out, we are waiting to move on with this particular session. Thank you again for this panel. It was wonderful talking to the youngsters and definitely putting my mind through different questions, which very good questions you put up, and applying the mind to that was very interesting. Your question was really great. So on that patent thing, that how you will be utilizing with the AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raghavji sir, Rodney sir, and Vijay sir, for those heartfelt words. As we wrap up today's summit, we would like to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this. It was an absolute pleasure to be your host for today's enlightening summit. I, Katya Grawal, and I, Garima Wadka, your host for the World IPR Summit, take care until we meet the next time. Thank you once again and have a wonderful evening ahead.
Yes, please.
I would like the esteemed guests to please proceed for the dinner. Thank you so much.